In this last video, I want to show you how to separate classes into their own files. And this is a relatively new feature to JavaScript called JavaScript modules. So let's explore that. First thing I'm going to do is to create a directory for all these JavaScript files. When we only had one, it was fine to have it at the top level, but now we really want more. So I'm going to come here to public and new directory, and I'm going to call it JavaScript. So now we can start to extract parts of this file into the JavaScript folder. And the way to do that is we can come here to refactor and move. And now we can say where we want to move it to. We want to move it to the JavaScript directory. And we are going to create a file named after the class we are extracting, in this case, utils. Yes, I want to create it, and yes, I want to put it under version control. So now you can see that IntelliJ created a new file under the JavaScript directory called utils, and it put the keyword export before the class. And this is to say that we could have a file with multiple classes, but this is the one that we want to export, or we could even export multiple classes. That is different from Java. In Java, there is only one public class per file, but it's a better practice to have one public class per file here in JavaScript as well. So we are going to export this as the default export from this file, and it will be the only one. And in the JavaScript lights out JS here, you can see that IntelliJ added this import statement. And it's IntelliJ is being smart here. It gets the right path and everything, but it thinks this is another kind of application, maybe a Node.js application. I cannot really tell. So it does a couple of things wrong. The first is it doesn't put the extension, and I have to fix that by hand. And the second is because I want utils to only export one class, that is the utils class, I don't need to be specific and import it by saying I want the utils part of it. I can just import everything. So I'm not importing an object that contains utils. I'm importing the default thing, and that is just utils. So similar to that, I'm going to do the same thing for each class in this file, and I'm going to fast forward through that. Okay, so that's it. We are finished extracting classes from lightsout.js. In fact, when we are done, there is nothing left in lightsout.js. So what we have here is a directory structure that looks like the one on the server. We have a directory for controllers, elements, models, repositories, and so on. We also have a client.js at the top level, and the client knows how to initialize the application. So we need to change index.html to load the client. The way we do that is by first changing the path here. Instead of saying lights out, it should say JavaScript client.js. And also we need to say that this is not a regular script. This is a module, and the JavaScript engine will treat this file differently because of this. So we need to say that this type is module. There is one last trick we need to do before we can test this in the browser, and that is here in the controller. Remember how in the SVG and in many other places, we want to call the controller actions like load or create and pull and move. And we want this to be available in the SVG or in the HTML. We want this to be available anywhere. So we need to make this controller globally visible. And the way we do that is by saying window.gamesController equals gamesController. So now when a button that tries to do an action that is gamesController.create, this gamesController is available. So with that, we can refresh the browser and we can see that we can still play the game, we can still cheat or create new games, so it's all working. And this is the structure of an app that is capable of growing. So yeah, we wrote a lot more code this time than in the original Lights Out, but there is a structure, a pattern for growing the app. And this is the structure we want you to use in your group projects. This is the end of our video series on JavaScript. Thank you all very much for watching, and good luck with your group projects.